The Indiana Hoosiers are good enough to win the national championship. Let that sink in. Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. We'll be in the Big Ten Club together. And if you could also share, like, and follow, that helps us out too. Plus, you can hype YouTube videos as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So Indiana is the real deal. I have evidence. Plus, Penn State fired football coach James Franklin. We'll have a complete Big Ten recap of the whole weekend and my top 10 observations of the Big Ten over the weekend. So Indiana knew it was going to go into Eugene, Oregon and win. They did. As a matter of fact, so did I. I also have receipts. If you want to go back to Friday's Pigskin Picks episode, I called it. Look, I like Oregon. I like talking about Oregon. They're an exciting team. They're not going to be any worse for the wear. I'm sure they'll just be fine after this, and we're going to keep talking about them. But we're going to keep talking about the Hoosiers as well. But I do have some proof on that if you want to go back to Friday's episode. But Curt Cignetti, he had this quiet confidence about him going into this game over the bye week after the struggle and the win at Iowa. It's kind of quiet, radio silent this week. And look, Cignetti and quiet confidence, those aren't words or phrases that are commonly used to describe him. They're just not. And if you don't believe me, you can just Google it. So he knows what he has. He knows what he has on this football team. And this year's team is much more complete than last year's team that took the college football world by surprise, went 11-1 in his first year there, and got to a playoff berth. So how good is this Indiana team this year? Are they good enough to win it all? Like, I'm talking national championship. The answer to that question is yes. It is yes. In fact, this week's AP poll, believe in polls or not, they have them ranked third in the country. Ohio State's still number one, by the way. So how do we know how good Indiana is? Well, it turns out we have some evidence that they can make a run for a championship here. First of all, you have to be really, really good to travel across the country, go into Autzen Stadium and beat Oregon there. There aren't too many teams that do that in any year, by the way, whether Oregon's at the top of their game or whether they're just kind of good, whether they're great or whether they're kind of good. You're going to have a tough game at Autzen Stadium. But going into the weekend, there were a lot of people that thought the Ducks were good enough to be ranked as the third team in the country. Before Indiana was ranked third, Oregon was ranked third. They're a good football team. They're both good football teams. And Oregon's been good for a minute. So they had never lost a Big Ten conference game since joining the conference last year until now, until Indiana went in there and won 30-20 on Saturday afternoon. Fernando Mendoza threw for 215, I'll call them efficient yards. He found Elijah Sarratt for an 8-yard touchdown, for a key fourth quarter touchdown with 6:38 to go. Roman Hemby added a couple of touchdown runs. And the Hoosiers are now 6-0, 3-0 into Big Ten. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ducks quarterback Dante Moore, who's been pretty spectacular this year, threw 2 interceptions and he was sacked 6 times. The Hoosier defensive front is lights out. And those are kind of stats with sacks and interceptions you don't usually see in a Ducks box score. But the game at Oregon gave us another clue as to how good Indiana is. As Curt Cignetti told his team beforehand, getting ready mentally for this game, he says, look, when you play big games against great teams at their place, bad things are going to happen. It's just be ready for it. It's going to happen. It's not going to be a smooth 4 quarters. And it's how you recover or you don't recover that's going to determine the outcome of games like that. So a couple of bad things did happen to the Hoosiers on Saturday. In the first half, wide receiver Elijah Sarratt was mugged, and officials absolutely missed the obvious pass interference call and effectively ended the Indiana drive at that point. But the really bad thing that happened was a rare miscue by Mendoza, who came into the game having only thrown one interception all year. He threw a potentially back-breaking pick six that Oregon got. They scored. They tied the game at 20, got the crowd back into it, and it looked like that game could flip. That's usually what happens in situations like that. It's Brandon Finney's interception. Made it 2020 with about 12 minutes to go. So we're down to an even Steven game with 12 minutes to go after kind of battling back and forth all day. Most teams would have cracked right then and there, most road teams. But instead, Indiana, the offense came back onto the field, and they marched into a 12-play, 75-yard drive that was capped off by that beautiful Mendoza 8-yard pass to Sarratt for a 27-20 lead with over 6 minutes to go. Sarratt, again, 8 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown. And then I have to give a mention, not only I mentioned the front four defensively for the Hoosiers, their linebackers, you got Aiden Fisher, phenomenal. Elijah Hardy, Isaiah Jones, those three guys combined for 34 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 5.5 tackles for loss. I think Indiana's the best tackling defense in the country. Ohio State's pretty good too. That's why they're so respected on the defensive side of the ball. But Indiana's right there, and I'm going to point some things out here in a minute. Here's another reason, in fact, that leads me to my next point, why I think that Indiana can win a national championship. Let's put the Oregon game aside for just a minute. Let's compare them to the number one team in the country. Let's look no further than our very own Ohio State in the Big Ten. Indiana's only regular season loss last year was to the Buckeyes, and the Hoosiers weren't ready for the big moment. They weren't last year. But Saturday at Oregon, they proved that they're ready now. And they already have 2 top 10 wins on their resume. Remember, they beat Illinois handily when they were ranked 9th in the country, in addition to beating Oregon this week. And they also have a tough road win at Iowa when things were not going their way. They found a way through it. That counts for something. And in fact, that experience and that loud Kinnick Stadium helped prepare them for what they were going to face at Oregon on Saturday. Plus, Indiana's team this year is complete. They really don't have any weaknesses. They have a better and more seasoned quarterback than Ohio State, I think. No offense to Julian saying that kid looks like he's going to be a superstar. This is his first year. Mendoza's been playing for a while. Indiana's offensive line is better than Ohio State's. I don't even think that's a question mark. Indiana's running backs are just as good as the Ohio State running backs. They're both very deep. And here's my hot take of the day. This is probably what's going to get everybody commenting. But Indiana's wide receivers, Elijah Sarratt and Omar Cooper, they are just as good as Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Let that one sink in for a while. If you don't believe me, you're just hyperbole. You're not. Go back and look at all their stats all year. Check out highlights, whatever you need to do to come to grips with that. That Indiana's wide receiver room is just as good as anybody else's. So there's more. And let's talk about Ohio State's defense, because everybody seems to think, we do too. We did a podcast a week and a half ago. So this is the most elite defense in college football, led by Matt Patricia at Ohio State. They're very special. But so is Indiana's defense. By the way, Ohio State gave up 2 touchdowns to Illinois this week. Indiana only gave up 1 when they faced Illinois. That's just one small comparison. Indiana's front four, again, they're as good as anybody in the country at getting to the quarterback. Indiana has the best tackling linebackers in the country, and their secondary are very experienced. So Indiana and Ohio State, we may have to wait until the Big Ten championship game to decide this once and for all. It appears they are on a collision course. I mentioned repeatedly last week, I thought the winner of the Oregon-Indiana game, the winner of that game, was going to take on Ohio State for the Big Ten championship. So we'll see. We'll air it out. And then after that, who knows what happens? Anything can happen. But yeah, Indiana is good enough to win a national championship this year. So is Ohio State. So are a handful of other schools. Throw in Miami or whoever you want. But Indiana's in that conversation. Let's hear your comments. If you agree or disagree, we'd love to hear from you on our YouTube comments. Hey, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. We're here every single day. And if you could share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, that helps us out as well. Don't forget, we have a website, talkbig10.com. And all of our podcasts go there. This one will go there when it's done. Or you can go back and check out the live ones that were recorded over the weekend for Big Ten recaps. And check those out for a second listen as well. Plus, we have links for you to buy your favorite Big Ten merchandise from your favorite Big Ten school if you want. Christmas is coming, but the podcasts are there if you want those. All right, we have the latest on James Franklin's firing at Penn State. We're going to talk about that, recap the whole weekend, USC's dominating win over Michigan, Ohio State still number one, UCLA rolling, Nebraska, Minnesota, Iowa, Washington. We have it all, the rest of the Big Ten. And then our first look ahead at week 8. We'll tell you when we're going live. And we have our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend as well. All that coming up in a loaded episode right here on Locked On Big Ten. This is Mazda's Moving the Game Forward, brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. Because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible, and they remind us to go the extra yard, shift into that extra gear, and keep the game moving forward. I got some examples of some athletes that do that, like Washington's quarterback, Damon Williams Jr., who threw for over 400 yards and rushed for 136, 538 of total offense. Yeah, that's moving the game forward. How about Elijah Sarratt with a game-winning touchdown for Indiana against Oregon? That's moving the game forward. King Miller, walk-on freshman running back for USC, ran all over Michigan. That's moving the game forward, just like Mazda. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks for checking us out here at Locked On Big Ten. We're here every day. You everydayers out there that make us go, thank you very much. We always appreciate that. Meanwhile, hit that free subscribe button down below, and that way you'll never miss a single episode. If you can share, follow, and like, that helps us out too. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. All right. Penn State, not so good. They lost again. This is the third week in a row we're talking about this. They lost to Northwestern, by the way, 22-21. Congratulations to Northwestern on a big win, but it got James Franklin fired. So, and look, the last 2 home games, people have been chanting, fire Franklin. And the school listened, finally, even though he had a big $49 million buyout. He's in the middle of season 12. He wins a lot of games. They said, no. Because the moniker was, he couldn't win the big one. Well, now he's losing the small ones. Against UCLA and against Northwestern, they were 20-point favorites in that game. And the expectations this year, they were number 2 preseason. They were supposed to play for a national championship. They were supposed to win a national championship this year. And they just never got it going. But, yeah, congratulations to Northwestern going in there and getting it done. David Braun, that's the biggest win of his career. There was some sad news for Penn State. Drew Aller, season-ending leg injury in that game, late in that game. He's done. His eligibility's up. That's it. He'll never play quarterback for Penn State again. And now they got to go. They got Iowa coming up next. They got to hit the road with a backup quarterback, an interim head coach, and it's a tough situation. That interim head coach, by the way, Terry Smith, the associate head coach, will be the interim head coach for the remainder of the season. All right, the USC Trojans beat up on Michigan pretty good. Put together a pretty complete game. 31-13. Trojans win over the Wolverines. As I alluded to a moment ago, a freshman walk-on, King Miller, ran for 158 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Mayava threw for 265 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. USC, they're getting thin. They're down 2 starting offensive linemen. They were down a couple of running backs. That's why the King was in there as well. And Waymon Jordan got hurt in the game. By the way, Michigan's running back, Justice Haynes, was injured too, and he left the game. Bryce Underwood threw for 207 yards and 2 touchdowns in the loss. USC's got that big game against Notre Dame. By the way, Michigan taking on Washington in a rematch of the national championship from a couple of years ago. Ohio State, the number 1 team in the country, went into number 17 Illinois. They won. Ohio State did, 34-16. They opened up a 20-point lead. Illinois scored the next 10 points, and then Ohio State finished them off. Julian Sayin, still looking good as a young quarterback, passed for a couple of touchdowns. C.J. Donaldson had a couple of touchdowns on the ground. Very scary moment for Jeremiah Smith. Got twisted upside down, landed on his head, flipped his back over the wrong way, but he did return. So that's good. That's good news there. Peyton Pierce had an interception. By the way, I should make a note here that Matt Patricia's defense, all of the 3 turnovers they forced, they turned them into 21 points on the other side. So phenomenal job, and a disappointing day for Illinois. And their all-world receiver, returner, runner, Hank Beatty, 7 catches for 48 yards. UCLA, the talk of the town, everybody, after their win over Penn State. Keep in mind, I can't stress this enough. They were 0-4. They fire a coach. They never even led. Then they beat Penn State. Then they go on the road, and they beat Michigan State 38-13. And this game started out with UCLA 3 and out, no yards on the first drives. Then Michigan State gets the ball, and they scored at 7-0. UCLA at that point scored 38 unanswered points. Just put it to them. It was incredible. Nico Iamaleava, the hero quarterback, 3 more touchdown passes for him. The Bruins had 7 players, including Nico, who combined for 238 yards on the ground. The Bruins put together some long scoring drives, 12-play, a couple 10-play scoring drives, and just a great job by the Bruins. They should be very proud of themselves. And I will also say this. I look at this as a massive setback for Jonathan Smith's program at East Lansing. I always talk him up. I always think it's going in the right direction. This is a big step backwards for them. So we'll see if they bounce back from that. Did you catch the Nebraska-Maryland game? It will give you a whiplash. Just the lead changes. It was incredible. Congrats to Nebraska for a 1-score win. That's good. They have trouble with that. They win 34-31. And Dylan Raiola was just crazy, right? 3 interceptions, including a pick 6, but he also had 4 passing touchdowns, including a game winner to Dane Key, the Kentucky transfer, with just over a minute to go. Emmett Johnson was big on the ground for 176 yards. Naziah Hunter had 5 catches for 125 and 2 TDs. And Kenneth Williams had an 85-yard kickoff return that helped with the score. I always like to talk about Malik Washington. He's the freshman quarterback of Maryland. I think he's going to be special. Threw for 249 yards and a touchdown. And as I mentioned, Dylan Raiola had a pick 6. Well, that was Dante Joyner, who returned at 67 yards for the score. Pretty impressive there. Iowa, the little train it could. They put it together. They've been impressive a few times. You look back on the game. It's like, what did they do? Well, they won. That's Iowa football. And they won in Wisconsin, and they shut them out. I can sit here and praise Iowa, but on the other side, Wisconsin, the wheels have fallen off, and I'm afraid that Luke Fickell's going to get the James Franklin treatment. I think that's coming. And I don't ever root for that. I don't ever root for coaches to lose their jobs. I give you my opinion on this podcast, and I think he's in trouble. Iowa was coming off their bye after their loss to Indiana. And remember, Mark Gronowski got hurt, their quarterback, with the knee, but he did play in this game. So it looks like he's back. He was cleared a while back. We reported that here, and he was able to play. Kamari Moulton had 92 of his 96 yards in the first half and a touchdown. Xavier Williams had a couple of long scores, 29 and 19 yards out. He rushed for 55 yards on the day, and Iowa gets the win. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, quarterback roulette. No Billy Edwards, still hurt. Danny O'Neal benched. Hunter Simmons started again through 2 first-half interceptions in this game. The craziest game of the weekend was probably Nebraska-Maryland, but Purdue-Minnesota is on the list. Minnesota wins 27-20. Purdue jumped out to a 10-0 lead. The Minnesota answered with 10 points. Anyway, let's fast forward to later in the game. Minnesota puts together a nice drive. 14 plays, 70 yards, took 6.5 minutes. Their young quarterback, Drake Lindsey, found Jamison Gears for a 4-yard touchdown. Now, that ties the game at 20. We're about under 8 minutes to go here at this point. They kick the ball off. Purdue gets the kickoff, and then they start their next drive. Ryan Brown, their quarterback, throws a pick 6 to Coy Parrish, returned at 27 yards for the score. All of a sudden, Minnesota has a 27-20 lead with 7:40 to go. They scored twice. They scored 14 points in 7 seconds of game clock time. That's quite a turnaround. Minnesota, PJ Fleck, they get the win, 27-20 over Purdue. And let's not forget how we started this big weekend. What a crazy weekend this was. We started Friday with Rutgers at Washington. Washington won that game 38-19. if you haven't heard it by now, a career night for Washington quarterback Jamal Williams Jr., both throwing and running. Passed for 402 and 2 touchdowns. Those 2 touchdowns were to Denzel Boston for 20 and 38 yards. And he rushed, in addition to throwing for 402 yards, rushed for 136 yards and 2 more touchdowns. He is the 16th player in FBS history to throw for at least 400 yards and rush for at least 100 yards, and the first to do it since 2023. By the way, you probably guessed it, the 538 yards of total offense, that's a school record at Washington. So what was going on is Rutgers' defensive scheme was to concentrate on Jonah Coleman. So he only had 44 yards. Jamal Williams just ran crazy, threw crazy, and put up monster numbers. And what's also amazing about this crazy game, Huskies fell down by double digits in this game. They had to come back. They had 4 straight scoring drives in the second half to get it done. Meanwhile, in a losing cause, Rutgers quarterback Ethan Kaliak-Manis, he set career highs with 386 yards passing and 31 to 50, and he threw for a couple touchdowns. His favorite wide receiver, Ian Strong, he missed a game due to injury. Every game he's played in, he's had over 100 yards receiving. 7 catches, 124 yards in this one too. He's very underrated, and that's why I keep mentioning him every single week. One side note on this game, Rutgers failed to convert on 4th down inside the 10 twice. Otherwise, this could have been a much different game. Ephesians Prysock had an interception for the Huskies. All right. Every game in detail for you right there. When we come back, I will have my top 10 Big Ten observations for the entire weekend. We do that every Monday, standalone feature. We'll see if your favorite team or your favorite player made the list. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Big Ten. We watch games because we're fans and it's exciting, but it's more exciting if you got a little something on it with FanDuel. That's right. NFL season, for example. Get in on that with FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. So you pick a bet. Your first one, you put it down, $5. If it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The app is super easy to use. Got your point totals, point margins, player props. You can parlay stuff, futures, pull it all together right there with FanDuel. I mean, you watch the games. You're an expert, right? Have some fun with it with FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and download the FanDuel app today and get started. That's at FanDuel.com. Question for you. Where's your money? Do you know where all your money is? I'm talking banks, investments, 401k, properties, investments. It's all over the place. Monarch Money is for you. Monarch Money helps you pull it all together into one place so you can see everything, get the big picture, and not leave money on the table. That's why we have Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Look, Monarch Money is built for people like you with busy lives. You know, you've been thinking about organizing your finances. You've been putting it off. Then Monarch is for you. They do all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see the clear data right there in front of you. You can categorize money. You can see where your spending is really kind of going out the window a little bit. You can bring in your spouse or your significant other's information there all in one place as well. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege. monarchmoney.com. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to do our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend, see if this matches your list. Things that I notice and I want to share with you. I'll put it on the screen. If you're on Apple or Spotify, I'll just kind of describe it. It's just a list. We go 10 through 1 backwards. First one, I wanted to mention just a moment ago. Ian Strong, the wide receiver for Rutgers. He's 100 yards every time he steps onto a football field. Did it again. 7 catches, 124 yards versus Washington. Want to put him on the list. Elsewhere, let's see. We've got Minnesota's Coy Parrish. I like this guy. I talked about him a lot. He's a safety. He's a receiver. He's a returner. He's got a nose for the ball. Got himself an interception and turned it into a pick six from 27 yards out against Purdue. So he makes the list as well. Speaking of pick sixes, you know, we like those. Maryland's Dante Joyner makes the list. Had a 67-yard pick six off of De La Raiola. in the loss to Nebraska over the weekend. Also at number 7, shout out, speaking of Nebraska, Emmett Johnson had a big 50-yard run, 176 yards total versus Maryland. He makes the list here this Monday as well. Number 6, just a shout out to UCLA football. 38 unanswered points, 38-13 win versus Michigan State. 2 wins in a row after starting out 0-4. Congratulations to the Bruins. Jeremiah Smith, look, the Ohio State wide receiver. Tough play against Illinois. I just mentioned it as an observation. Not all top 10 Big Ten observations are good things. Some are bad. Really held my breath when I saw him get flipped upside down, land on his head, and his back fold over the wrong way. He was in a lot of pain afterward. Ohio State fans were holding their breath, but he came back into the game. It's a tough kid. And, tough things happen in football sometimes, but he bounced back from it. It was just an observation. It was a key moment this weekend. I wanted to mention it. Also, Northwestern football coach David Braun. Look, man, I know Penn State's loss cost James Franklin his job, but that was a humongous win for David Braun at Northwestern. His guys believed. I was watching that game, and it was like they kept hanging around. They had the lead a couple different times, and because of that, remember this: nobody scored in the third quarter. They're like, man, we're going in the fourth quarter. We're hanging in here. We're winning this game, and that's what they did. So big props to David Braun and Northwestern. He makes our list as well. King Miller, USC running back, is a freshman, and he's a walk-on. He was like 3 or 4 deep on the depth chart, and he got the call against Michigan and ran for 158 yards against that defense in the 31-13 win over Michigan. Very good job. So he makes our list of top 10 Big Ten observations as well. Damon Williams Jr. from Washington. I just told you everything he did against Rutgers. 538 total yards of offense on Friday night. 402 through the air for 2 touchdowns. 136 on the ground for 2 more touchdowns. And finally, you probably wonder, what's number 1? Indiana and Curt Cignetti. He believed, that team believed, that fan base believed. They went into Oregon, one of the toughest places to play in the country, against a top 5 team in Oregon, and they won. They won. And now everybody's who was doubting last year, going, they didn't play anybody. They're not good enough. They're good enough. They're good enough for all of it. Curt Cignetti and Indiana at the top of our list in our top 10 Big Ten observations from the weekend. What did I leave off? Did I leave off your favorite player, favorite team? Let me know. Would love to hear from you. We got some great games coming up this weekend. We'll be talking about them throughout the week. We'll be previewing some of them moving forward. But I will tell you right now, mark your calendar, Saturday night, we go live on Saturdays, right after the late one. USC at Notre Dame, NBC 7:30 kickoff Eastern time, 4:30 Pacific. We will go live after that game here on Locked On Big Ten for your immediate reaction and my immediate reaction, back and forth. That'll be about 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Pacific-ish. So make an appointment. Check us out then. We're looking forward to that a lot. In the meantime, we're here every day with multiple podcasts, with the latest news, analysis, and opinion on that news. Don't forget, you can interact with us on Twitter or X at TalkBig10 10. Send us something. We'll put it on our Tuesday show with Tuesday tweets. That's tomorrow, by the way. Also, our website, TalkBig10 10.com, where we put all of our podcasts and, of course, links for you to buy your favorite Big Ten school merchandise if you want to. But the podcasts are there if you want to go back for a second listen and check out something you may have missed. Before you go, if you could hit that subscribe button, please, that'll be great so you never miss an episode. And if you could share, follow, and like, because I know since you're watching, I already know you're a Big Ten fan. That probably means you know other Big Ten people in your lives. Let them know we're out here every single day. Share. Hit that little share arrow and send this podcast their way. All right. And also a shout out to Locked On for all you college football fans, and Fire TV for the college football kickoff they do every Thursday with Drake Toll, Gary Patterson, Jesse Hawley. All of our Locked On experts are there. The college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch the college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season on Fire TV. That'll do it for us this episode. Where does the time go? We got a big week ahead of us. Can't wait to talk to you again tomorrow. For Locked On Big Ten, I'm Craig Sheeman. We'll see you then.